And I'm like, okay, grace, it really is tangible. We talk about it as this intangible thing that's hard to define, but you can make it tangible.
Yeah, that's good.
By going, how can I show somebody grace? Because it makes a huge difference. I just see it turn somebody's day around when you stop and look at them and go, how are you doing today? Get my head out of a book.
You talked about grace is ambiguous.
Yeah.
And, grace is a church word. If you've been in church at all in your life, that's a biggie that we throw around. But kind of like when you were talking about how you think of grace, how would you all explain grace to a non-believer or to a young believer? Yeah. What is it? How does it come? How does one get it?
Yeah.
I just love the way you talked about it. It's almost like a mystery, but a very real mystery.
Yeah, because if the way I would explain it is in the world, everybody understands what a grace period is. So if you have a debt that you can't pay and you need more time, they will give you a grace period, right? Without penalties. And so if you get to the end of that time, like I would with my children, we've learned this. I remember Tommy Tenney told me years ago about this book called The Jewish Phenomenon, and it's how they train their children and how their children have basically 3 different career paths they can choose, right? Lawyer, doctor, or accountant.
Right.
And all my close Jewish friends are like, accountant isn't even a thing anymore. It's law or medicine. And they have this perpetual family tradition where you can't draw on your inheritance until you first put $100,000 in the family. So you have to show initiative then to receive, and it may be millions you inherit, but you first have to show initiative. And this is the way I would explain grace, is grace isn't this sloppy, we can do whatever we want because look, he died on the cross, he covered all of my sins, so I can live however I want and he's gonna forgive me when I ask. It's like, would you keep doing that, though, to someone you love? Would you keep doing that to a marriage? Yeah. Would you keep doing that to a parent who keeps giving you grace and mercy? It's grace so that you can overcome. Yes. So it's like if you owe a debt, bring what you can bring, right?
Yeah.
Like we have this retreat that we do, and I always say to women that we scholarship, we don't ever give total scholarships. And the reason is you need skin in the game.
Right.
I want you to be invested. So if it's $10, if it's $5, whatever it is that you can bring something, and then there's grace for the rest.
Yeah.
We want you to have the full experience. But I think it's that with debt, most people I think that are unbelievers would probably understand it the best, is we're not going to keep giving you grace to enable you to fail. It is to enable you for ownership. It's to enable you to learn stewardship.
Yeah.
And I think if our response is right, I don't mean right like performance, I just mean like if we really receive grace, then our response would be and should be one of such unbelievable gratitude that you would only want to be obedient, to put skin in the game, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, if we really deeply understand it and appreciate it, then the natural response, just like Paul talks about in the New Testament, the natural response is to be pleasing to the Lord, is to obey his will, is to listen. You know what I mean? That's the natural response out of that. I think sometimes the cheap grace, like you're talking about, where we just want to take and do whatever we want and sit on our hands and make excuses like, oh, well, I think we're not really receiving understanding because it's not evoking the right response.
No,
you know
and
what I mean?
The end goal of grace is for each and every one of us to be gracious.
Yes.
Because how else can the world experience the grace of Jesus unless we show it?
Yeah.
Right.
So we don't want to keep being takers of the grace of God and then not distributors of the grace of God. So it's just like that Jewish phenomenon. You pay in by paying it forward to other people. Say, I have a debt I cannot pay, but I can forgive your debt.
Yes.
That when you owe me something, I can be gracious to you and say, no, because see, I owe $1 million.
Yeah.
And he didn't make me pay that.
Come on.
So I'm not going to tax you on what I feel like you owe me because you weren't nice enough to me or you didn't say the right things to me. So how else do we show the grace of God except that we're ambassadors of grace, right? In my young life, encountering grace in such a dramatic way by people receiving me and forgiving me and allowing me, giving me permission to be who I was called to be despite my shortcomings. allowed me then to carry the grace and to understand where it came from was the cross. And because I've been forgiven much, I am then an ambassador to make sure that I am an emissary, one who displays grace. So because he paid my debt, that means I then am able to pay other people's debt by giving them grace, giving them a grace period, or giving them the space to make mistakes and not always say everything right or do everything right when it's in regards to relationship with me. Because he has grace to me, then I can be gracious.
But for someone that, either is new to the faith or maybe didn't grow up in the church, I think we think of grace as something that happens at salvation and that's it. And I just love how you just talked about it, because you were talking about grace through a door being opened. You were talking about grace and favor in the work of your hands. I think that when we start to zoom out and look at grace as so much more than just what happens at the moment of salvation, then it gives you a different appreciation for that grace and for as favor, as guidance, as direction, as wisdom. It covers so many things. And so for me, even I love how your example, Christy, of the going to Israel and that door that was opened. What's so interesting is I think I have seen God's grace in simply just helping make those decisions for me. Like, this is the yes, Christy, and I'm going to close this door. Or grace in walking through really hard times. Or grace in, I'm facing something and I feel like, God, I can't do it. And it's in his grace, he carries me. I was just telling you in the makeup room, you're like, how's it going? I was like, God is carrying me. He is carrying me in this season. And, I've shared before on this show, but I've gone through a transition lately of leaving a company I've been with for 12 years, going into this new season. And it's totally a walk of faith where I'm going, I don't know what is next. I know that this season is over and I don't know what the next season looks like. And God's revealing it a bit at a time, not showing me a long way in advance, but just lighting the path in front of me. And all of that's his grace. It's his grace to walk me out. It's his grace to carry me through. It's his grace to light the path. It's his grace to open a door. And it's his grace to close a door.
What is God's ultimate purpose for giving grace? It is for the work of restoration.
That's right.
Yes.
And we see that in the life of Joseph in the Old Testament. All the favor he was given all came down to this is the favor to forgive. Because I've elevated you, I put you in the palace, I did all of these things for you, and it wasn't just about you, it's about this moment. Can you forgive your brothers?
I've got chills as you say that.
And look at all the stuff he went through.
That's right.
Because of them.
That's right. All right.
But it was all about a nation, because 70 needed to be protected so that during the famine they could grow and they could multiply. And I'm like, how many things have we detached, like you said, from an area that's been a hurting place in our life where maybe somebody did something to us, but we're praying that God will elevate us or open a door.
Right.
And he's looking at going, can they make the connection though? That the open door, the favor, all of that is so that they have the grace to forgive in the moment I need them, because my ultimate goal is restoration. I need to restore all of my children to myself. And I think if we understand that is the greatest purpose of grace, is a restoration, we get the big picture.
Yeah.
At TBN, our mission is to use every available means to reach as many individuals and families as possible with the life-changing gospel of Jesus Christ.
Thank you for helping make the gospel of grace go around the world.
And it's because of you that partner with us that this ministry continues. God bless you.